Well, welcome to No Doubt About It podcast. Mark, in a different spot today. He's in the podcasting director's booth.
No, it's not good. It's not good. You getting a big look at my computer, so we'll kind of do that for you.
Yeah, it's
a little
okay.
bit of that.
It's all right.
It's a tough situation.
Yeah, no, it's not the easiest thing. It's why I'm not doing it. But our girls, Ava has left for Africa for a mission trip for 5 weeks, and Ella has also left for a church camp opportunity, and she's gone for the week too. So
yeah, it's just us. And by the way, I do understand that Christy looks a little blue on her camera.
Oh, do I?
Yeah. So I had a little lighting issue, and the only way I was going to be able to get any sort of even light, even close,
is to make me blue.
Was to make you blue.
Oh.
So I just figured like you could handle it.
Okay,
and
well, just tell people
great.
it's the methylene blue I'm
yes,
making.
Exactly.
And it's just kind of now started to shade my skin.
Yeah. You just poured it over the lens, so it's good. A couple things here. Scout's joining us now. She made it up the stairs, so this is a big deal because Scout had double ACL surgery.
Yeah, she did have double knee surgery.
Was not able to climb the stairs for a long time, and now she's doing better.
She's doing a little better. Yeah, she's kind of our, she's our family dog. I mean, she is like our heart.
Yeah.
She's like our little sweetheart of the family. So we put her through the surgery, and she has recovered quite nicely. Actually.
She has. It was definitely the right decision.
It was, and we were doubting it, but she could hardly walk, and we decided to move ahead with it. And we were told 12 weeks recovery, but within like 3 weeks, she's really bounced back pretty well.
Yeah, she has. And she's at like 4 or 5 now, and she's doing okay. She's hanging in there.
So it was a good decision by us.
Yes, we were great on that one. So a couple quick things. We were really great. So a couple quick things for you. It's an interesting show in the respect that we're going to do some local stuff first. We've been talking about this bill, this clean fuels bill that we've mentioned that is now effectively it is in the State Environment Board is going to start to enforce this thing. And the Journal wrote an article on it today. It was ridiculous. So we'll get into that. Another Journal article from our friend Jeff Tucker, who was on the show and managed to turn his time on the show into a column.
Yeah, a couple of columns. He's put a couple of columns together on about his podcast on this, which was a couple of episodes ago. So if you missed it, it's with Jeff Tucker. He is the opinion editor or former opinion editor.
And he's on the opinion board still.
Yeah.
And so we were... We got kind of animated over the Bregman thing, so he wrote an article on it, and of course he wrote it from his perspective.
Well,
so I would like to answer some of what he said.
Okay, and I'm sure he's anticipating you doing so.
Yes. Oh yeah, he knows. It's no big deal.
He knows where that's going to go. So no worries. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we'll march on from there. There's just a heartbreaking story about an Albuquerque business owner who someone steals from his store. And he goes out there, tries to shoot the tire of his car, shoots the guy, kills him, and now he's facing murder charges. And it's just unbelievable. And so we'll talk about that because literally this week, both Ella and I both had experiences with people ripping stuff off at stores and right up here, in the Albuquerque Heights. I mean, just it's out completely and totally out of control. And then end of the year, right? And you get into the state track meets across the country. Well, the issue of men and women's sports is coming back up again. And so we're going to talk about that. 3 different issues of this happening and what the reaction has been. And the reaction is starting to change from people as well. And then this attack by the Ukrainians on the Russians, unbelievable. So we want to show you that. Just incredible. A drone attack, and the way they did it was very clever. And there's a lesson in this for the United States as well in future warfare because it is changing. And then we, of course, we'll end with a little kicker about Jeeps.
Right. Jeeps, because our daughter drives a Jeep. You had a Jeep for a long time. Yeah. We've actually had a handful of Jeeps in the family.
We have.
Over the years.
Yes.
So a little tip of the cap to the Jeep driver out there that we are ending on. So kind of a funny thing. All right, let's dive into some of the mail we got. I just pulled 2 today, 2 quick comments. I did get a lot this week, which I appreciate. I've read a lot of the emails that have come in. Continue to send those to us at info@nodoubtaboutitpodcast.com, or you can go on our website, nodoubtaboutitpodcast.com. podcast.com. And
we're over 13,000 subscribers, which is good.
Yeah, we're doing great.
Yeah.
So make sure and subscribe and like us on YouTube as well. That does help us quite a bit. So thank you guys for continuing to do that. Okay, so this first comment came in from Bill. Bill says, regarding the Russia, we talked a lot about Russia and Trump last episode. Russia, Putin is not controllable by Trump. This is a very serious fact that needs to be calculated at a very dangerous time in international relations, which is exactly what Mark was chatting about in the last episode. You know, you very much so just discussing the fact that Trump's got his hands full with Putin. Putin's not laying down for anybody. And what's interesting is I was just listening to a different podcast with Newt Gingrich, and he said, and I wrote it down because I thought it was kind of interesting. He just said, you know, don't mistake Trump's patience for timidity. And he thinks that that is what Putin could be doing.
Well, now everything has changed, though. Remember, a bunch of their nuclear bombers are gone.
Right. Well, that's super recent. But
I mean, no, you're right.
But
you're
again,
right.
that's Ukraine side, right? So just thinking about, okay, well, is Trump, you know, basically his patients are looking or reviewing all this. How does Putin look at this? And Newt Gingrich basically said, hey, I hope Putin's not laying down because he's going to mistake what Trump's actually doing here.
You hope Putin's not laying down?
Yeah, meaning like Putin's not just thinking he's got this in the bag kind of thing, because he doesn't, is basically what Newt Gingrich was trying to say.
Okay,
That Trump may look like, but he said, don't mistake Trump's patience for timidity. That's basically what he said.
Yeah, and again, okay, sure.
That's what he was saying.
Yeah, no, I get it. And that's probably, hopefully, you know, whatever. But that's what we talked about in the last episode, is that Trump has to stand up. I mean, and say enough. And by the way, Putin continues. This is one thing that people are not, I don't think, fully realizing. And today it's a little more of a reality on a Sunday after what's just happened. The war fighting machine of Russia has been deeply, deeply damaged. Not only just from what's just happened, but in general, the amount of people that they've lost. This is bleeding them in both possible ways, which is horrible all the way around. And because of what they've done, they've gotten themselves in an incredibly difficult position. So I think that does go to Bill's point, which is Putin has a whole different set of motivations here. But I don't know what that means. You know, who knows what it means? But it could mean that, you know, the United States providing more aid, and I'm not talking about soldiers on the ground. I'm talking about financial aid and deals, obviously rare earth deals with the Ukrainians, which will help them, fuel their defense machine, and possibly selling them more weapons. I mean, that's a possibility too. And again, if Russia won't stop attacking them, then, you know, what are you going to do? So that's what we've said on this show anyway.
Right. Well, in a lot of our comments that came in, I did not clip them all, but a lot of them were saying, we need to be really careful here because this absolutely could become the next World War III.
Yeah, it could, but I don't think it will. So go ahead.
Okay. All right. Oh, you've heard that directly from Mark.
Yes, it will not happen.
So Sagittarius, she is the woman that wrote, or gentleman, it could be a gentleman too, that wrote in, and I had to clip the comment last time, and they wrote back in.
The third question?
The third question, because she had questions about Mayor Ken down in Las Cruces, if he had a chance. So he wrote back in and said, hey, no worries. Here's the third part of my question again. If Ken were to win against the other Democrats, would he have a chance against the Republican candidates for governor? Also, I've got a new question for you. Do you think that Keller is going to do the June Pride Parade next month, considering there's people on X saying they hope that doesn't happen next month, which is actually this month now, so with June.
Okay, a couple of things on this quickly. Any Democrat who wins the nomination, you have to remember, in the state of New Mexico, that Democrat walks into the general election with a 15-point registration advantage. So to think that any Democrat, whoever were to win, doesn't have a chance is crazy. So yeah, Mayor Ken would absolutely have a chance.
If he was to win the nomination.
Absolutely. He would absolutely have a chance.
And the issue, though, goes back, again, we talked about this last week, you know, really, it's going to be tough for him to get the nomination because a lot of people up in the bulk of the state have no idea who he is.
Right. They'll have to do all that. You're right. He's got some challenges ahead of him. But if he were to get through somehow, some way, through the primary, he would absolutely have a chance. So no question, no doubt. Now, as far as Mayor Keller goes, absolutely he'll be at the Pride Parade. That's a huge part of his constituency, and for him not to go to that would be a significant mistake on his part. He will go. He will go, absolutely.
And I believe that you'll see every Democratic candidate for governor, Bregman, Deb Haaland.
Bregman, yeah, absolutely.
They'll all be at the Pride Parade.
Yeah. Bregman will take the cowboy hat off, or he'll put on a rainbow-colored cowboy hat. He'll change. Well,
he's an actor. We all know he's an actor. He just shows up wherever.
Showboat Sam will be ready to go.
Whatever you need him to be.
We'll talk about him in just a second. Okay. We'll get to him in just a second.
Okay.
But yes, so they'll all be there. Absolutely. So that's a big part of their constituency.
Well, let's dive in because we started talking about this. Basically, it's going to boil down to a gas tax is really what it sounds like to me, just as a consumer. You can call it whatever you want, but basically this is going to turn into a tax on people. This is the story that we've been mentioning. Here it is in the Journal this morning. It is the New Mexico Environmental Department trying to put together an enforcement basically on a bill that was passed previously called HB 41. And so it's called the Clean Fuel Plan advances despite political headwinds. So here's what it's going to say. Here's a couple of things from the story. The Clean Fuel Standard itself follows a 2018 baseline.
Okay, wait, I just want to say one thing before you read this.
Yeah.
What you're about to read is, in this article to me, was infuriating because it was a mouthpiece for people in power. Okay, that's all this was. So what you're about to read here, I want you to read this and just tell me what it means. If you're an average person sitting there at home reading this, tell me if you have any understanding of what you're about to say. Just finish it up and then let me know what it says.
Okay. The Clean Fuel Standard itself follows a 2018 baseline from carbon intensities generated by gasoline, diesel, and jet fuel. The proposed rule would mandate annual carbon intensity reductions in fuels to meet legally required milestones, at least 20% below 2018 levels by 2030, and at least 30% below 2018 by 2040.
What does that even mean?
Well, this is called a hefty rule.
Well, no. So hold on though.
Yeah.
What they did here. So then Michelle Miano says she's from the Environmental Protection Division. She gives away the game a little bit. And she says, this is a hefty rule, meaning this is significant. Okay. Now, does the reporter from the Journal stop everything down and say, what do you mean? What are you talking about? What does hefty rule mean? Hefty means expensive, just so you know. For all of us who pay taxes, hefty means expensive. Hefty means a big climb, a heavy lift, a difficult go. That's what it means. Now, do you get any explanation of that in this article? The answer is no, you do not. So the minute she says it's a hefty rule, I want you then to watch the magical pivot from the author of the story, which then gets into all the great things it's going to do. You don't talk at all. There was one quick soundbite given to Gail Armstrong to be able to say this is going to raise gas prices, because it is, and we'll show you why in a second. Well, I promise you we'll give you that evidence here in just a second. But so they give some cursory little, oh, well, some people don't like it, but, and then just read this. Here we go. You'd think we're headed for big times ahead. Go ahead.
Public Service Company of New Mexico has voiced its support for the program, and other companies like clean energy businesses 3 Degrees and automotive tech and manufacturing company Rivian.
All right, hold on. So right there, okay, you have, it should be like saying oil and gas businesses support oil and gas, right? So then you have these companies that come out that are involved in this line of work that make big profit off of it. They're in. Of course they are. Go ahead, keep going.
That operates in other clean transportation fuel markets in the U.S. participated in a public comment period in January to support and influence how New Mexico's program will work.
Of course they did.
Of course they did, because they will benefit from it.
Yes.
New Mexico Environmental Department officials also touted new economic opportunities that could come with the $3 billion alternative fuel market, attracting investments in industries like clean hydrogen or renewable propane.
Okay, again, this is the sort of thing that a good reporter says, wait a minute, what are we really looking at here? Instead, what we get in this particular case is no pushback, no digging to find out what real details there are. What $3 billion are you talking about? Really? I mean, and so...
Is this going to turn out to be like the money we were also supposed to make with wind and solar?
Well, I mean, again, some wind and solar is fine, but it's just, this is not...
And some of it doesn't work at all. So, I mean, honestly, like the cleanup of that, if there is even cleanup on that, is turning out to be a disaster. You can't base your energy
grid on wind and solar, clearly.
Right.
We all know that. There's no doubt. But
we don't all know that. We all there's groups that still tout it and give all these tax incentives to do so. So I'm just saying this is another one that's like saying, oh, well, suddenly now we'll have $3 billion in alternative fuel markets from clean hydrogen and renewable propane.
Right,
okay?
No. It's ludicrous. I totally agree with you.
Along with wind and solar.
But here's my problem with the article, which is the easiest thing to do. The easiest thing to do is, because New Mexico would be the fourth state to do this. So then you just say, you know what I'm going to do? Take the minimum amount of work, not just call the people at the Environment Department and transcribe their press release.
Their press release, which is exactly what this is.
I'm not going to just do that. I'm going to go look. I'm going to say, if I go look at the most expensive places to buy gas in the country, I wonder if I'll find those 3 states that do this same clean fuels bill. You think there could be a thing? Oh, well, let's take a look. Oh, there it is. Okay, let's take a look. Let's start with Hawaii. Just the first one, because Hawaii is an island. I don't know if any of you have been there. It's a 5-hour flight from California. So it's kind of expensive to get fuel out there. So Hawaii is a bit of an outlier. Okay. All right. So we'll just pull Hawaii out of there because that's a whole different set of economic circumstances. Is California one of the clean fuel bill states? It is. Average price per gallon, $4.07 or 70 cents. Washington, are they a clean fuel state? Oh, they are as well. $4.35 average. Oregon, are they a clean fuel? They are indeed. So really, removing Hawaii, the highest 3 cost states to buy gasoline are the states that have the very bill that New Mexico is getting ready to enact. New Mexico, the state that has the highest number of people on assistance that desperately need help and a hand up to afford their daily lives. We are not California. We are not Washington, and we are not Oregon. We don't have that kind of money here. We have people that are scrapping every day to get to where they need to go. And what is this going to do? Likely going to raise their gasoline prices anywhere between 30 and 50 cents a gallon. And they have absolutely not been honest about this. They've been asked about it, and they said it's not going to happen. Do we have reporters that say, are you kidding me? Here are some simple facts. Do they do it? No. So we wonder why. But he says, why do the people of the state of New Mexico, they never seem to get it? Well, they don't get a whole lot of help from the people that should help inform them. They don't. And this is a great example. You just watch an article in the Journal, which just is like, hey, how can I help you? How can I help you? Let me write this story for you. Let me just give one side of the story. Oh, we'll give Gail Armstrong a quick little soundbite saying taxes are going to go up. She's kind of a crazy Republican, so can we really trust her? Let's go back to getting 6 soundbites from the other lady who tells us how great it's going to be, even though it's going to be a heavy lift or whatever she calls it. So this is what is just so infuriating, is you see this stuff and you're putting more burden on people that cannot afford it. Every family buys gasoline. Every family has to get their family to various places, to get to work, to get to school. And there is absolutely no difference if you do this bill in the state or not, other than you're just putting a tremendous burden on people.
Okay, do we know the status of this bill? Like, do we know what's
passed? It's done.
It's a done deal. So, like, now it's
this is a rules-making process, right?
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah, this is rules-making now. Now this is like, how do we enforce it? That's where we are now. No, this is House Bill 41. It passed in 2024.
And so now we just get to see how much this makes our gas prices tick back up, right? Because it's basically going to be a gas tax.
Yes,
which, of course, you don't see that in this article.
No, you don't see any of it.
It's going to be a gas tax.
They don't even touch it. She doesn't even touch it. She didn't even do the most minimum amount of work to be able to say, wait a minute. Okay, you guys are saying all this stuff's going to happen. There's not a state in the union that has tried this that is not one of the top states for gas prices. How do you explain that? Just ask that one question. Mm-hmm. Please stop being a rubber stamp for power so that they can keep just rolling along and making life more expensive and more difficult in the state. Just help people out.
Oh, and also, why would you not interview some of the state legislators that voted in favor of this and that said, yeah, this is a great idea? Like, that's
well, they don't know. But wait a minute, they don't know. You think those people know? You think those state legislators have any idea of how this thing's going to be? Like, they're just blindly going about it. Now there are plenty of state legislators, both Republican and Democrat, who voted against it. It only passed by a couple of votes in the Senate. It was very close. There were plenty of votes against this thing, and so that's who I would have talked to. I would have gone to the Democrat who voted against it, because there are 8 or 10 of them. And said, hey, what's going on with this? No, we don't do that. We don't do that. It's much easier to print the press release.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be exciting to watch our gas prices go up even more then.
Well, we'll see what happens with it. But push back. You can go to the State Environmental Board. You can still comment on this thing. It's important to do it because there are really, this will desperately hurt people in the state. It really will. I mean, there is nothing more regressive, meaning affecting low-income people just as much as high-income people, just on an even basis, meaning it affects low-income people more because they have less money than this.
Well, and I'm guessing it's not just going to affect us at the gas pump. This would affect our utilities, would it not? Like, would it, if you
it depends on what you're fueling now P&M has always been wrapped into the middle of this stuff. So I don't know. Honestly, I don't know how that's going to work.
Well,
I don't know.
You can make your comments to the environmental department. You could also definitely still pick up the phone and call your state reps and say, hey, listen, like, I am still adamantly opposed to this. I don't know what we can do about it, but like, I want to make sure I'm voicing my awareness on this. And again, when people say, why do we keep, why is it important to maybe vote for somebody different? This is why. Like, this is just one more example of why when you vote for the same people in the state legislating office or the same type of governor or the same type of elected official, you just get a repeat of higher taxes and more money coming back, being taken away from everyday New Mexicans. And you sit back and say, I wonder why this is happening. Well, this is it. This is exactly proof of when you just do not vote for change, you get a repeat of history over and over and over. So anyway. Okay. Let's talk about you. You and Jeff Tucker going round and round in the opinion journal, opinion column today in the Journal.
Yes.
And it says here, Jeff says, unleashed primary voters bode well for centrists. Bregman campaign.
Okay, a couple things. All right, we'll go through what Jeff said here. Bregman's not a centrist, but okay. So here's what Jeff says, what he said on this podcast, which is true. I told Mark I was leaning toward Bernalillo County District Attorney Sam Bregman in the Democratic primary, pointing out that crime is driving politics across New Mexico. I'm not sure that it is, but okay. After all, Bregman has strong credentials as a courtroom prosecutor, not really, and a decades-long civil and criminal defense attorney, that's true, who has litigated some of the state's highest profile cases, sort of. Okay, Mark Ronchetti pointed out that the Democratic candidates at the end of the political spectrum tend to defeat moderates in primaries, which is true. But in the last good statewide Democratic primary in 2022, then Bernalillo County District Attorney Raul Torres repeatedly hammered then State Auditor Brian Colon on TV ads about remarks Colon made in one of his podcasts about defunding the police. Colon lost the Democratic primary to Torres by almost 10,000 votes or 7 percentage points, and Torres claimed that he held the middle ground. Okay, here's the problem with that example, Jeff. That is that nobody really knows much about Raul Torres, or they definitely don't necessarily know a whole lot about Brian Colon. It's a position that people don't tend to be as dialed in on. It's not that they aren't important positions and that they aren't two substantial people. They are, but it's just they don't. That's a different kind of example. So, but then he gets into what he forgot to mention on the show here, which we'll talk about here. It says, with the passage and enactment of Senate Bill 16 earlier this year, that growing block of independent voters will be able to choose the major party's primary ballot in 2026 and vote for candidates within that primary without having to drop their party affiliation. Previously, independents could vote in primary elections, but only if they first changed their party affiliation to Democratic or Republican. Not many voters went through the hassle. Fewer than 1% of independent voters cast ballots in the state's 2022 primaries. The landscape will be much different in 2026, with 23.2% of the electorate up for grabs with the two major party primaries. Okay, so this is what I would tell Jeff. First of all, independents don't vote in primaries. It doesn't matter what the rules are. There's a reason they're independents, and they don't tend to jump in and vote during primaries. If you are the candidate who says, I'm going to get all these independents to jump in and vote for me like we live in New Hampshire, it's not going to happen because that is just not how it works here. So good luck to you if you're the person that is depending on those independent voters to suddenly magically come flooding in to the, quote, moderate Sam Bregman, which he is not. And so what's going to happen here is, and this is what I asked Jeff at that very table when we were sitting there. I said, Jeff, tell me the ad that Sam Bregman runs on Deb Haaland. Tell me the ad, and I'll give you the chance to jump into this, Christy. You tell me the ad. If you're Sam Bregman and you're trying to figure this out, you go tell me the ad, and then I tell you how I'll respond as Deb Haaland. Okay, so what is the best ad that you think, if you're Sam Bregman, you're going to run to take out Deb Haaland?
Well, I think they're going to try to show that she's ineffective. She has never done anything for the state of New Mexico. It's going to just be like views of her just talking about how ineffective she is. They might bring up her past DUIs.
No.
You don't think he'd bring those up?
God, no, you don't touch that.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm just thinking that's kind of what I've heard about on X, but I think he's going to try to say that she's never.
I mean, it was 30 years ago.
Well, I understand we don't care about it, and I don't think voters actually care about it.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to say, what would an ad?
What are you going to hit her with? Are you going to hit her with she hasn't done anything?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's what I'll come back.
That's
with.
what I think.
While you say I've been busy not doing anything, I've been serving in Congress. I've been standing up for Native Americans across this country. I served this country as Interior Secretary. I was a congresswoman who went to D.C. and fought every single day for the state of New Mexico and to lift up low-income families. What were you doing? You were ambulance chasing, Sam. You were out there chasing cameras trying to get money for your clients. And then you decided, at the last second, I think I'll try to be DA and I'll get appointed to do that. Thank you, Johnny come lately, but you happen to be a DA for the most violent city in the country. So why don't you just sit down and do your job? Well, what happens then? Go ahead.
Well, I think he's going to come back guns a-blazing like he always does. Like he's going to have his cowboy hat on and he's going to be like, he's going to list all the crime rates that he's brought down. I think that's what he's going to try to say he's done. Because that's what I've seen him doing. Is that he's taking credit for, cleaning up the city and cleaning up things, which is not clean and is not cleaned up in my mind at all, nor do we feel it whatsoever on the everyday.
And then the next ad I run on you is your showboat Sam. So who are you this week?
Yeah.
Who are you? Are you Woody from Toy Story? You got the chaps on? You got the hat on? Oh, that's great. And then what are you doing next? I mean, you down getting oil and gas money? Because that's what you're doing too. Got a lot of oil and gas money in there. Are you a Republican? Are you a Democrat? Who are you? We don't even know, but we're Democrats and we care about this. And you go and treat us like we're fools, and you can act like whoever you want. You can act like whoever you feel like being that day. Well, some of us have been Democrats our whole lives, Sam. So why don't you wake up and come on to the party here? Thanks for showing up.
Well, yeah, I just think here's what I think. I mean, regardless of the ads, which I do think are still very effective, by the way, which a lot of people are like, do these ads really work? Well, yeah, they do. They can absolutely dictate turnout for voters. But I just think at the end of the day, she's Native American. She's a woman. She's held a national office.
Yes.
And she's going to have all the money aimed in her direction. And you can do a lot with money. And I think what you said at the very beginning of this is, what people are always concerned about and talk about on X a lot is that she doesn't come off very intelligent. Well, they're going to make sure her team is going to protect her, keep her from doing a lot of press conferences, and they're going to keep her away from debating Sam Bregman, who's an attorney. So I'm sure Bregman could clean the floor with her in a debate.
There's no question.
I'm imagining that would happen. So,
I totally agree with that. I'm not saying he couldn't be effective in a debate, but he's also, it's just never going to happen. It's like, that would be great.
I think he's going to come off. I mean, this is just me knowing and watching and being part of campaigns. Sam's going to come off like a bully.
That's right.
That's what he's going to come off like. Yep. And it's going to be very difficult for him to not come off like a bully.
That's right.
It is a very hard thing. And I mean, it's tough to say this, but it is tough to run against a woman in any state, and especially in New Mexico. Yeah. You run against a woman, and if you come off even slightly cocky and arrogant, which he already has, and he already has that reputation, it is going to be that he is putting down women and that he thinks he's smarter than her and all of these. I mean, he's going to come off like a bully. And that's the thing is like, so will that connect with voters? And I just think at the end of the day, you're looking at, when you look at the primary voter for the Democratic Party, they're not looking for the guy in the middle that's going to keep crime down and going to, take the guns. It's like, that's not what they're looking for. He's a gun owner. He believes in gun rights. He's, all of these other things too. The far left primary voter is against all of that. So I just don't know how that, I don't even know how he's a candidate, if I'm being honest.
Right. Like, this is a spot where I think that people use their own sort of logic versus political logic. There's just political realities. And the political reality is that in the Democratic Party right now, the Democratic Party is much closer to Deb Haaland than it is to what Sam Bregman has created himself to be this week. So, therefore, that's why Haaland's going to clock him. I mean, now, Haaland's got to run a smart campaign. She's got to. What I mean by that is, do not make yourself available. Like, you just do not make yourself available. Just keep yourself much more structured environments that help you as a candidate. And every candidate has different strengths. So, and I always hate, I'm sorry, when people say, this candidate's stupid or whatever, I hate that because I just think it's irritating. So when people say, Deb Haaland, she's not smart, whatever, I don't know whether she's, I don't know.
I think for voters, and this is what I've always said is, it was the same thing that when people would say, Mark's just the weatherman. I was like, you clearly have never heard him speak. You've never gone to hear him talk about policies. You've never read any of his policy presentations on his website. You never have gone to a town hall. You haven't actually listened to the guy who knows all this, has studied all this for years, for a decade before he even attempted to run. So I just think there is that whole thing of you're just this or you're just that. I just think the likability of Sam Bregman is very low, especially, I'm just going to say this, with women.
Yes, and that is the perfect point, because what percentage of Democratic voters are women right now? The party is dominated by women.
Right. I mean, I just think we see that. We saw that even in your race. We see it in other races. I just think it's going to be interesting on what candidate is going to connect the most with women. And I just think, I mean, I've heard that Sam Bregman's license plate, something says like the governor or the gov or something, is horse rate. He owns a horse or something, and it's also called the governor. It's a guy that has a huge ego walking to a room. You can feel that when you see his announcement. You feel that like bravado, like check me out, I have all this bravado. And I just think, I don't know if that's the right approach when you're looking at the voter that's going to actually be determining who's going to be the primary candidate for a Democratic Party.
Yeah.
It's not him. I mean, I would be shocked. I will be shocked if it's him.
And that's real logic, though.
If she steps all over herself or something.
We agree on that she has the potential to blow her own candidacy up.
And I also don't believe, I mean, I hate to say this, but obviously we learned this too. I believe you were amazing in the debates. I don't think the debates, unless you are Joe Biden, have it that actually put that much out there for the voters, especially if they push the debates really far up against the voting line. Like if it's past a voting, for instance, like when you did the Senate race, Ben Ray pushed that debate till after early voting had already started. So like he wasn't a fool. He knew he couldn't get into the debate ring with you, and he didn't want to too early on. So they kept pushing it and kept pushing it until early voting had already begun.
Well, yeah, but she's not going to debate him. So like that's not going to matter now. So the primary debates, those are always a little more dicey, right? Because you can end up doing like a candidate forum. I would not be surprised if they end up on the same stage as a candidate forum. But again, no one will see it, right? Unless something really bad happens at that candidate forum, nobody will see it.
Right.
So it doesn't. So that part doesn't matter. It's the televised debate where you may get 4 or 5 ratings, so 40 to 50,000 people may watch it, maybe. And again, we had the one debate we had was like 70,000 people watched it. But again, I think it went well for us, but it doesn't. But unless something really bad happens, and Michelle was more than accomplished enough that, she took the punches. She didn't appreciate it. She didn't enjoy it. When we were done, she'd had enough of me. But she also knew that nothing melted down for her. Now, something different for Haaland, that could be the case. But you're right on the Bregman thing. This is just another example. But this is the stuff people don't realize, is that they see Bregman talk to like, well, Bregman, like Jeff, I think, is making that mistake. And then you realize what you just said, which is the electorate, especially now in the Democratic Party, it's hard to find a ton of men who are Democrats, really, that are voting Democratic right now because of the issue set and things like that. And so because of that and how powerful women's voices are in the Democratic Party, you're exactly right. Sam is a bully. Sam in an electorate that is largely women, and then Sam in a party that appears to be more left than his latest creation is. He has no chance unless Deb Haaland melts down and gives him one. Anyone who tells you he doesn't know what they're talking about. Now, we could end up in an unbelievable crow-eating situation here. We may have just massive piles of crow coming up here if Bregman wins. And if Bregman wins, don't get me wrong, he'll be very well positioned to win the general. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
So I'm not saying
we've said that.
No, I'm not saying he's a bad candidate either. I'm just telling you that the way this race is playing out, he has no chance.
Right. For an actual primary candidate, we've fully admitted he'd be very difficult to beat in a general election.
Yeah. Again, for that 15% registration advantage they have right off the chute. And so, so that's tough to beat. So anyway, okay. We spent a lot of time on this.
Yeah, we did.
So, okay.
We may have dove too much.
Well, that's all right. That's all right. It's good stuff. Okay. Next story. A business owner in Albuquerque, somebody goes into his store. He owns like a hookah shop. Somebody goes in there, steals stuff, and I want to play this story for you because I thought Channel 13 did something interesting here. Fairly basic story from Channel 13. But then at the end, Dean Staley lays out what the criminal background is of this person. And it is significant. And I think Channel 13 did that for a reason. I think they did that to be able to say, hello, look at this, So I just want you to listen to this a little bit.
Police say the owner of Moe's Smoke Shop shot a shoplifter who was reversing his car away from the store. We spoke with someone who works nearby who saw part of what happened.
A lot of commotion. We went ahead and came to the windows by my work. We looked out. We saw a guy running out that fled in a white Toyota Camry. And then we saw the owner of the smoke shop also out there.
Matasam Mahir Thabata, the owner of Moe's Smoke Shop, is facing a murder charge. According to a police report, officers arrived around 3 p.m. yesterday to a shopping center near Lomas and San Mateo to find a burned car and a man identified as Matthew Cedillo dead on the ground with a bullet wound. They later spoke to Thabata, who admitted to shooting at Cedillo, who he says stole 2 shirts and a glass bong from his store before trying to flee in a car. Thabata says he was trying to shoot the tire, but instead Cedillo was hit and killed. The car crashed into another vehicle in the Sprouts parking lot, then ended up across the street where it hit a curb and caught fire. Thabata told officers he was angry and that he doesn't like violence, but he said Cedillo left him no choice.
At the end of the day, as frustrating as it can be, it's just inventory. Most businesses, including ours, has insurance for that, and it's never worth taking or risking your own life for just inventory.
The total amount of stolen merchandise was $75. Thabata does not have a significant criminal history in New Mexico. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Marilyn. Court records show the man who was killed, 40-year-old Matthew Cedillo, had a lengthy criminal history with charges for burglary, shoplifting, trespassing, and forging checks. But in recent years, he has rarely faced prosecution. His rap sheet includes charges in at least 13 separate cases in the last 5 years. But in more than half of those cases, he was found incompetent to stand trial, and the charges were dismissed. Only 2 of the 13 cases resulted in convictions.
Okay, so there's why. I mean, I think they went out of their way to lay out how significant his criminal history is, and good for Channel 13 for doing that.
And morphing his pictures, all of his mugshots. I mean, I thought that was impressive.
Yeah,
too.
no,
that spoke volumes
right.
of how many times this guy's been arrested.
Right, and I think this is so heartbreaking. And a couple quick things. The girl with the soundbite at the end that said it's just inventory.
Right.
That's just not true, because what it is we have a social fabric that's been ripped apart in the state of New Mexico. People walk into stores and think they do not have to pay anymore. They can do whatever they want. And this is a great example of just continuing to slide down that road where this guy is now going to face murder charges. So now it becomes go take whatever you'd like. It's just inventory. And so I saw this 3 days ago at the Albertsons on Paseo and Ventura. A guy comes walking out with 2 bottles of wine and roses, clearly on something, screaming at the Albertson staff, "Don't come near me or I'll kill you." And he looked like he would absolutely do it.
Well, and the sad thing is we shop there a lot, and that is a frequent thing that's happening there. The thing that's even more troubling, we got letters, actually emails this week talking about how they're watching the Smiths on Mateo and, on Montgomery and Tramway. Same situation where they walk in and they see teenagers and just taking liquor and taking alcohol and just taking whatever they want, and they leave. And it's becoming this pattern. Yesterday, Ella is inside a Walgreens on Paseo, and a homeless guy comes in there with his pants completely off, and he's got no underwear on, and he's just walking around exposing himself to everybody. And somehow that's supposed to just be okay. And, our daughter's 16 years old. And I'm just thinking, where in the world did we say, hey, this is okay? And security is just chasing the guy out. But at what cost? Like, he's going to turn around and come back? I mean, I just think, you can sit around and say it's just inventory, or this is just the way it is now. We can all just continue to settle for that, or we can actually get a mayor in here who makes actual changes and says, listen, enough is enough, and we are going to crack down on all of this, because you can stop fighting. I mean, you can start cracking down on the homelessness and the shoplifters and the strong use of drugs, because I guarantee you, the person that you guys saw in Albertsons coming out was out of his mind.
It was on meth.
Yeah.
He was clearly on meth.
So it's like, okay, if we can start cracking down on drug use as well, I just think enough of just saying, oh, this is just the way it's going to be now in our great
No.
in our city of
Our society
Albuquerque.
has decayed.
Yeah, it's
to the point
terrible.
where there is no more social compact with each other to be safe, to be respectful, any of that. It's gone. And this is what happened. We're getting more and more into Mad Max territory, where it is, what are you going to do? And I've never, you look at carrying a gun and concealed carry. I think that's an option for a lot of people. And I get it. That's important to us, because it's just, you get to a certain point where you realize that you have a choice to make. And then you see this guy at his store and now he's going to face charges. Should he face charges? Murder charges? No, but I don't know where that goes, but it's awful. It's awful because where we are now, this is what, this city and state has become. We cannot let this happen. And again, this is something that affects everybody.
Well, it's affecting everybody. Stores are closing down because they can't afford the insurance claims anymore from getting ripped off or broken into or caught on fire or whatever seems to keep happening to these businesses. I don't know why Channel 13 would find anybody that's that brave, I guess, or that stupid to get on there and say, oh, it's just inventory. It's not just inventory anymore. This is a culture war that is just taken off. It is wrecking our city. Well, I don't know how you keep voting for the same mayor at this point or thinking that that's going to change things, because it's not. He's had his day. He's had his day to fix this, and he has made it much worse. So my vote is, do not vote that guy back in, please. Whatever you're doing, do not.
All right. Well,
sorry, I am.
No. I get it. I get it.
Tired
no,
of
I understand.
This.
I get it. I understand your point.
It's not safe here anymore, and we need a real change. And you only get real change by electing new people.
Yeah.
End of story.
Okay. All right. So now that it is high school track season and state championship season, I want to get into three different stories here, because one of the things we hear a lot about is that a lot of the boys competing in girls sports doesn't really happening or whatever, and I think it really, you're starting to see some of this stuff that is just unbelievable. So, and I think it's stretching into an area that I think is really painful in so many different ways for so many different people. Not only the girls in the sports, who I feel most for, who just lose their opportunity, right? But then you see, when you have this story, this Veronica Garcia. I don't know what Veronica's name was before Veronica, but is a biological male in Washington State, won the 400-meter state title, okay? And I want you to listen to the crowd's reaction to when the second place person is announced first, and then Veronica is announced, okay?
Lauren Matthews.
Hear that cheer. Okay, here we go.
First place, your 2025 winner, in a time of 55.70 from East Valley of Spokane, Veronica Garcia.
Okay, Veronica Garcia.
Your
Biological
400
boy.
meter.
And I just, you see that, and it's horrendous. And so here's the race right here. And then Garcia end up winning. And so it's not good. I mean, it is something that is really damaging, because you got the kid, and then Garcia says after the race, this just makes me want to run even more. And all of a sudden you're like, what are you doing? Like, what are these adults doing that are like sanctioning this stuff? And you get this kid going in there like, I just wanted to run more. Well, yeah, okay, guy, I get it. But guess what? It's not your race to run.
It's not your race to run. It's very similar. I know we don't have this one in here, but A.B. Hernandez, he's the 16-year-old transgender girl in California. Very similar, long jump, right? Mm-hmm. And just bypasses the second place holder by a lot. And it's maddening, because Trump has said, listen, no more federal funding for California when you're doing things. I mean, it's just like calling it out. And I mean, Gavin Newsom has said, I don't really know how to handle all this. I mean, he's been put on the record saying, I'm not really sure.
Well, no, he's backed off it because he realizes that it's a loser. And it doesn't make sense. And people are starting to push back. So you see the crowd there who's like, no,
right.
No, right. And so that, again, you're going to start, you're putting kids in the middle of something where you think you're being compassionate and you're being cruel. I mean, that's all there is to it. And then here's the girl who got second after the race. Here's her picture. And she says, Washington State track and field real girls 2A 400-meter champion. Mm-hmm. I mean, and you don't blame her for saying that. I mean, it's hard to blame her for saying that. She has every right to say that because of what's happened, right?
Right.
And so, and it's not, it's not just this. Here, check this one out. Listen to this. This is a tweet from Riley Gaines.
Yes, this last night, a man single-handedly carried his high school in Minnesota to a Class 4A softball championship. He pitched 14 shutout innings in back-to-back games to defeat the defending state champs. 14 shutout innings. You are a shameful, sorry excuse for a man, Governor Tim Walz. And then here is the video of this taking place.
Yeah, there it is. I mean, just unbelievable. I mean, think about that, because that's 2 straight games is what Riley's talking about there. That is 2 straight games just shutting, and that is just ending somebody's state championship hopes. And that's just, it's craziness, right? And then, again, getting back to the frustration, I want to show you another video here. Girls who got 3rd and 4th in a race, okay, they just end up walking off the podium because they've added a boy onto the podium. So here are these girls just walking off. They're just like, yeah, we're done. Yeah, we're not doing that. Thanks anyway. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is reaching a boiling point.
Well, and it continues to happen in a lot of the states that are trying to push the envelope, I guess. I mean, it's just weird. Like, you think maybe you won't hear anything about it anymore. You definitely do. It's still happening. So it will be interesting to see, how does New Mexico deal with this next year? Because, our daughter swam against boys on the girls swimming team. And it will be interesting to see, are they still swimming in those? I mean, is anything changing? Even under this executive order, are schools and school districts abiding by the executive order?
Yeah.
It's interesting. And it's just, again, now I've even heard more recent stats that now it's only like 13% maybe still support
No, there's
this.
nobody that supports. It's craziness. Everybody knows you can't do this. It's ludicrous. And I think it's going to take, people standing up, even people left of center standing up, just saying, no, enough, stop it. Stop it. This is not going to happen. It cannot happen anymore.
Well, you need women to stand up on this, like grown women, because they're the largest supporters of this movement. They're the largest supporters of saying it's okay to have the transgender girls in these women's sports. That's who's doing this. So you need all the moms and all the women to grow up and support and back girls in girls' sports. Yeah. Plain and simple. You do not see a lot of guys supporting this, a lot of men supporting this. You see other moms and women saying that somehow this is a good thing. Like, we'll just go against Title IX. No big deal. No big deal at all.
It's not Title IX. It's logic. Well, I mean, so forget Title IX, right? I
don't want you to forget Title IX.
Well,
we fought so hard to get Title IX.
I understand that, but we're not even getting to Title IX. This is not even to that. This is just like, hey, don't be crazy and allow boys to take over girls' sports. It's nuts. All right, we got to quickly get to the Ukraine stuff.
Yes.
This is wild. I want you to read this tweet because it sort of explains a little bit what the Ukrainians did Saturday night into Sunday to the Russians, which this matters in the United States too, and we'll explain why that is.
So Maria Avdiva, I think is her name. This will be in the textbooks. Ukraine secretly delivered FPV drones and wooden mobile cabins into Russia. The drones were hidden under the roofs of the cabins, which were later mounted on trucks. At the signal, the roofs opened remotely. Dozens of drones launched directly from the trucks, striking strategic bomber aircraft. And Russia can't produce these bombers anymore. The loss is massive. Nothing like this has ever been done before. And here you're sliding through some of the pictures.
Yeah, showing the pictures. And then here is video of the drone taking off from one of these boxes here. And you can see there it is. And this is in Russia. This is well within Russia. This is right outside their bases. So they set these boxes up and then they just release the drones. They go in and then the drones hit these nuke bombers, which are, the damage is incalculable. It's unbelievable. Here's some video of the bombers. Look at all the bombers on fire here, just one after another. These things are, hundreds of millions of dollars a piece at least, right? I mean, some of our bombers are $1 billion. It's crazy. And you can see they just blew them all up. I mean, this is the sort of thing. And the reason it matters to the United States is because we have assets like this sitting at airfields across the world. And so this does change things in that respect. But the Ukrainians doing this, unbelievable. And here's one other thing. There's a picture right here. What they also did was, these are the boxes, right, where the drones came out of. Well, the Ukrainians weren't there. They just brought the boxes in and left, right? And then they remotely, boom, send them off. Well, then when the Russians go to respond and they realize, oh my God, these drones are coming in from these boxes, let's go shut the boxes down. They blow the boxes up. I mean, it is unbelievable. And this is what Sean McGuire said. He's one of these tech guys, said this, and this is something that this is where our military is headed. This is where we've been headed for 5-6 years, I think, probably maybe more than that. Okay. And he says, Ukraine just mounted an attack that marks a turning point in the history of warfare. Hundreds of drones were pre-deployed and then struck 40+ aircraft and 100 kilometers inside of Russia.
1,000 kilometers inside of Russia.
Oh, excuse me, 1,000. Sorry, yeah. $1 billion in damage by less than $1 million in drones. Critical infrastructure is no longer safe. That matters to the United States, that we have to be able to fight wars and understand how wars will be fought in the future. And we better have the technology to handle being able to take out drones. And we will have drones of our own, clearly, that we already
clearly.
do.
I mean, again, do we need to talk about the drones off the East Coast again? That whole thing?
Yeah,
like,
I mean, what was it?
whatever
Yeah.
happened with that? We're just told that, hey, it was American. Everything's fine.
Right.
Trump said, no more questions, please, or whatever. So
let's wrap it up.
Apparently, that's what we're hopefully are heading towards, is being able to not only identify when drones come our way, because that does seem like the new wave of military action right there, is who's going to have the most advanced drones now. And who's going to be able to operate those? I mean, you and I went and saw Mission Impossible, the new Mission Impossible Final Reckoning this past week. And even, all of the Russian, it was Russia and China and this AI thing that was coming, like basically taking over the world. This AI robot was taking over the world. And I'm like, that's kind of frightening because there is some little level of a reality check in there of what is the warfare becoming and how are we shaping things.
That's a good drawback. Very true. I mean, that's the kind of thing we got to start paying attention to. We got to start paying attention to what's going on in Mission Impossible.
We might need Tom Cruise to come and save us.
You're totally right. But no, it just is just. But the future of the thought
long movie, by the way, long movie.
It is.
Okay.
But it is. It was long. It was solid. But I will say that. You've watched what happened to the Russian tanks because of the Ukrainian drones. Like, you're seeing all these things. Like, tanks, in some ways, are they completely obsolete now? Because they're so big,
then you're saying
so
that there's
slow.
no more ground game, is what you're saying. If that's what you really think, is there really no more ground game?
Well, it depends on the war, right? It depends on the theater that you're operating in. And I'm no expert on this. I have no clue. But I'm just saying that, a lot of things like these smaller, more maneuverable things. I mean, are we going to have jet fighters anymore? No, we're going to have drones. Like, why would we send a pilot into that?
Right.
When you can be, below a mountain in Colorado Springs running the thing.
Well, okay, but here's the question then. Do you need the jet fighters to be able to go and shoot off other drones, that are coming our direction? That's, to me, what you would use a jet fighter for, right? Is to be able to pinpoint those drones and take those guys out.
Why would you not use your own drones to do that?
I think that would be really hard. But I guess I'm not a drone expert. Like, I'm not a military expert. Listen, I watch Mission Impossible. That's what I do.
That's a good point.
I watch military movies.
Yeah.
And I read some military books from time to time.
Yeah.
That is the level of my expertise on what should we do militarily to support.
Okay. We have one last. All right. So we have one last story.
Yes.
And you want to get to this.
Well, I did. Because our daughter she's been telling me about the Jeep Wave. And so when I read this story in Motor Trend, I was like, okay, this, I guess, is a real thing. I thought it was just a teenage thing. It turns out it's not. The Jeep Wave explained, and are you doing it wrong?
Okay.
I don't know if you knew about this or not.
No,
but
I did not.
Basically, there's if you own a Jeep, okay, there are certain rules to this. Basically, it boils down to this. It's called the vintage coefficient, right?
Okay.
So respect your elders is basically what this means.
Yeah.
Older Jeeps rank higher than new Jeeps. So when you're passing the road, the rule of the order of the road is that if you have a newer Jeep, you have to wave first to the older Jeep.
Oh, as a sign of respect.
As a sign of respect. Okay, now they basically boiled this down in the article. I'm not going to go into major detail, but they believe it started kind of back in military days when they had the Jeeps. And
the old Willies.
Yeah, you would do like a 2-finger wave to each other, and whether you had doors or didn't have a door or whatever, or had a roof on or whatever, this is what you would do. So basically, it's kind of come along. Does it matter? Here's a couple of the rules, right?
Yeah.
So Jeeps lower on the hierarchy to start the wave.
Yep.
Older Jeeps are at the top of that hierarchy, so don't mess around with that. If you see an older Jeep,
you go first.
If you have an older Jeep, you do not go first.
No. Yeah. If you have the more recent model Jeep, you initiate the wave.
Correct. Okay. Correct. Now here's another trick. All Jeep vehicles, I mean everything that's considered a Jeep.
Yeah.
Participates in the Jeep
What?
Wave. Yes. And even if you're renting,
Even the Grand Wagoneer.
yes, even the Grand Wagoneer. And if you're renting a Jeep, you also participate.
Oh, you're back in. You got to do
You're
it.
in. And so like it could be an offense thing. And there's all these rules about it. Says the Jeep Wave can be a raised pair of fingers, an arm raised through the open roof, or out the door. Okay.
Okay.
But it's just 2 fingers.
2 fingers.
Okay. It's a pair of fingers.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Heaven forbid, don't give him the whole hand.
Okay.
Okay. And then
Okay.
this other thing that I thought was kind of crazy was the Jeep ducking.
Okay. Yeah.
So I don't know if you've seen this or not. I have with Ella because she drives a Jeep. So I was like, what are all the rubber ducks?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
What's
yeah.
up with the rubber ducks?
Yeah, what is that?
Basically, it's kind of a new development, new Jeep culture. It's supposed to be this gesture that like, if you're driving a Jeep and somebody appreciates your Jeep, another Jeep owner will put a rubber ducky on the hood of your vehicle as like a gift, as like a token.
Okay.
You collect them, you put them on your dashboard, and then you pass them out when you find another Jeep that's to your liking.
Okay.
And it's called Jeep ducking.
Okay.
So anyway, and can anybody do the Jeep Wave? Yep. Anybody can do the Jeep Wave as long as you're driving in a Jeep.
But
and
you cannot. I can't be in a Bronco and give you a Jeep.
No,
Wave.
that would be a Bronco Wave. And
Oh,
I'm not
okay.
sure. I don't have any rules
Yeah.
on the Bronco Wave, but we
Yeah.
could start one. I guess we could just start creating.
Well, we don't
one.
have a Bronco, so that would be
Well,
hard.
that would be weird, I guess.
Yeah, that
So,
would be
maybe
weird.
We don't
We'd have to
do
borrow
that.
someone's Bronco and go around and start doing that.
Anyway, I did that as a tribute to
Yeah,
our,
no, I think it's
to our
fantastic.
girl. I know that you used to have a Jeep too,
Yeah.
a couple of Jeeps. But yes, all Jeeps, you guys, if you're a Jeep owner out there, I'm sure you already know about the Wave. I haven't even started this for you. I haven't explained it to you. You already knew about it. And apparently go out and buy those rubber duckies and be ready to put those on various Jeep cars.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
You should
I
be.
want a I wouldn't mind a ducky left on my car.
No, that's
I
kind of
don't
cool.
drive. I don't drive a Jeep, but
No.
I would still appreciate a little love token left on my car that says, "Hey, tip of the cap, we appreciate your car."
Yeah.
I guess that's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah,
about.
no,
So,
it absolutely is.
anyway,
Okay.
Well,
All right.
full story there. So again, you guys have a great rest of your week. We will see you back here on Thursday. Thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
You've been listening to the No Doubt About It podcast. We hope you've enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, rate, and review. We'll be back soon, but in the meantime, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at No Doubt About It Podcast.
No doubt about it.
The No Doubt About It podcast is a Choose Adventure Media production. See you next time on No Doubt About It.
There is no doubt about it.